Mayor Live, and we are live from New Hampshire, Dover, New Hampshire. That's where we are, and of course we're quite still affected by the horrible July 4th holiday tragedy, the loss of so many innocent people. It is just natural that you're moved even more by the death of innocent children. No one of these people deserves to die. Although if you listen to some of these Democrats, it sounds like any of them that voted for Trump deserve to die. When will people realize that I am not a conspiracy theorist? I'm not an alarmist. I probably was the least conspiracy-oriented anybody who knew. I just am a realist, and I refuse to hide my eyes from facts that are enormously painful and difficult to accept, but necessary to protect innocent human beings. Something very, very sick has invaded a large percentage of the Democrat Party. It has not invaded the whole Democrat Party. It isn't in that sense, or as Biden would accuse us of being racist, systemic racism, but it also hasn't affected just a few. It's a disease with very big tentacles that reaches down to a pediatrician in Texas who was said that the people who died, who voted for Trump, the MAGA people, deserved it. This is a practicing pediatrician, or hopefully was a practicing pediatrician. And then a Democrat Party member who prayed only for the non-MAGA people to survive. And then people like Schumer, who blamed it on the National Weather Service and the cuts of Trump, even though Trump's cuts don't go into effect until the end of the year, and they had more people working this weekend than usual, and by all accounts, including some left-wing weather services, they did an absolutely flawless job. It wasn't their fault. Now, it might not have been anybody's fault. It might have been what happened. This area has had this kind of flooding for as long as anyone can remember. If we're going to look at useful things here, first of all, let's get away from the political blame stuff, which will have us do not useful things. And let's get to the practical things that could prevent things maybe from being you're not going to prevent this from happening, unless you really believe in climate change, like you can affect climate change. I think God has a lot more to say about this than the traitor Chuck Schumer, who turned against his own people. But that doesn't mean there aren't practical things we can do. When I finished my earlier show, we were talking about the beautiful young girls, those 8- and 9-year-old girls in Camp Mystic that all died. They were in the junior cabins. And I do want to show you a kind of reason for that. And I say this again, in the spirit of they're going to have to rebuild. And in rebuilding, I really do suggest that they take this into consideration. And I try to be as generous as I can. I've done plans like this for governments and even for private resorts and security plans. And I don't know, maybe I'd have missed this. I don't think so. You never think you'd miss it, but it kind of like jumped out at you right away. So let's take a quick look at it. That's a sort of rendition of Camp Mystic, and you see it's right at the turn of the river. Now this is the southern fork of the Guadalupe River, which a few miles before this separates into two forks, one that continues due west and the other that dips down kind of south and goes southwest. So this is that portion of it. Right in this area of the river, which is in the middle of the hill country of Texas, there are a lot of camps. This is by no means the only one. There's a boys' camp right nearby. There are other camps. And it was this one that was affected the most by far. Now, if you look at it, you'll see that at the 225 feet sign, you see that, right? Well, that basically indicates that those junior cabins were only 225 feet from the river. And they were on lowland. That land is not elevated much, if at all, above the sea level. Now, let's go over to the 600 feet area where the senior cabins were located, called Senior Hill. That's 600 feet from the river, but more importantly, it's elevated. You can't tell the degree of elevation, but quite a bit enough so that none of them, I don't think, were harmed. So the question is, why are these cabins located here? Why aren't they located further back over here with the seniors? Now, one could say if you were going to put someone in harm's way, you'd probably want to put the older kids there because they would react better. But I don't know that you'd want to put any kids there. You even had the choice of, I don't know if this is any lower ground here. It appears that the hills start over here in this area. But you have room back here also. This might be a better place for the office and the things that are, or the dining hall. Although the dining hall looks like the dining hall was not destroyed. I have pictures of the cabins are destroyed. The dining hall was ripped open, but it wasn't destroyed. The junior cabins are just. So they got somewhere around 20, 30 minutes notice. Had they been located on high ground, I think I'll put it this way. There's a chance they'd be alive today. And when it's rebuilt, it would seem to me that the only things down here in that lower area should be structures that are going to be used in the daytime or structures that are going to be used, on a scheduled basis. Yeah, you could keep the dining hall there. You just don't go there when you can keep the office there. The rec hall. These are all things you use deliberately and on purpose. But where people are going to sleep at night, it would seem to me you take advantage of the hills where it's unlikely or maybe impossible for anything but the Red Sea to get to it. Second, why wasn't there an evacuation of all the kids out of an excess of caution? Now, that's a good question, and that I raise as a question. What I'm telling you now is not a question. What I'm telling you now is a statement, if you understand what I mean. somebody would have to come up with a heck of a reason for why that's there, other than we made a mistake. However, I would not say the same thing about the second part, the evacuation. There are reasons that there might not have been an evacuation. First of all, the information available did change quite a bit. And it's a little bit unclear, and until we get a more precise evaluation of this, we're not going to know. When did it become apparent that this was going to be a catastrophic storm as opposed to one they have fairly often? Because otherwise you'd be evacuating all the time. Second, an evacuation is in and of itself dangerous. You take the risk of losing people in an evacuation. You just don't do an evacuation because there's some rain could turn into a 1 in 100-year possibility. But it does seem to me there was a point that night as I go through the timeline, and it might have been at night, so you couldn't do the evacuation at night. So question, why weren't they evacuated, both Camp Mystic and the other camps? And then why weren't they evacuated to higher ground, as during the night it apparently became much more obvious because the warnings that were put out changed. Now, I'm not saying that everybody at the camp is staying up all night listening to this, but there had to be somebody or somebody's tasked with staying up all night to see if things got worse. And along about midnight or 1, gosh, you could have made a call that let's go stick them up there with the seniors. So the other thing I would look at when you do the review of this is, what were the procedures and how often do they have drills? You know fire drills from school, right? Nowadays, they even do mass murder drills. I would assume that a place that ends up with floods, it's called, more floods than any place in the country and more flood deaths than any place in the country, in this hill country of Texas. It would seem to me if you can have a bunch of kids there, you're going to do 3-4 drills a summer. And one of the things you're going to do if you don't have time to evacuate is go stick them on top of a mountain, right? It is called hill country for a reason. So there you go. That's my contribution as a security person and as a father. So the president met today with his strongest and best ally, our strongest and best ally, the state of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, a man of historic proportions already, like he is. And I thought it was quite an honor. And obviously the president did too. And one of the first things that Prime Minister Netanyahu was to show President Trump his letter nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Like Mariano Rivera was the first baseball player inducted in the Hall of Fame unanimously, not even Babe Ruth. Donald Trump should be the first one to get it unanimously because they should have given it to him last time for the Abraham Accords. I think this is the point at which he's doing it.
To meet challenges and seize opportunities. But the president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate
Mr.
it.
President, have you spoken with any of the families of the victims?
So that was last night at the White House. You
Well,
want
the
to
pres-
watch more?
We can put a little more if you want.
Terrible event. You saw that maybe where Texas was just absolutely so badly hurt by something that was a big surprise late in the evening. So we'll be working with the governor and all of the people of Texas.
Mr. President,
We'll be going on Friday.
Mr. President, there was a security incident in northern Gaza today, right around the time that the Prime Minister was meeting with Secretary of State, Mr. Steve Witkoff. Does that, a number of IDF soldiers reportedly have been injured, possibly killed, does that in any way put a wrinkle in ceasefire negotiations with Hamas?
I don't think so. They want it. They want to meet and they want to have that ceasefire. So I don't think so. Steve, could you respond to this? You know about it?
Well, I think it's terribly unfortunate. Terribly unfortunate. We were just talking about it, how tragic it is, but we have an opportunity to finally get a peace deal, Mr. Prime Minister, as we discussed, and I'm hopeful for it very quickly.
Mr. President, are the tariff letters are the tariff letters that you sent today final offers, or are they negotiable?
More or less.
Was last night, and I gather that meeting took place before the dinner with the president and his wife and Mr. and Mrs. Netanyahu, and the meetings today. I will also want to thank Bibi for doing that for the president. I think that was a very fine thing that he did, and I thought the president's reception of it was quite gracious in saying it means something coming from you. You know, Bibi is a hero from the time he was a youngster, from the time he was in the Israeli army, even before his brother. He rescued hostages, not on quite the grand scale and the historic setting scale of his brother, who was the only one to lose his life, but all the hostages came back free. But still with the same risk. And I know Bibi from even, about when that happened. And he is, including the first prime minister, Ben-Gurion, he is the greatest prime minister of Israel. He took him from a socialist country to a per capita, one of the richest countries in the world. Economically, one of the most solid countries in the world. And for a country with a very limited population, as you can see, an unbelievable military force. Out of necessity, but a lot of people have necessity. Very few people have the accomplishment. We could listen to them talking, a great deal. But you got to understand there are two things at the crux of this, or on one side, and two things on the other side of it, that it's hard to see how you get beyond them. If you want peace between Israel and Palestine, has eluded us for years. Israel says, we're not going to do a ceasefire or make peace. And they may yield on the ceasefire, but they sure as heck aren't going to yield on a permanent peace. Well, number one, we want, of everyone who lives in those areas, we want a complete recognition of Israel as a sovereign state and the historic and legal home of the Jewish people, should there ever be another Holocaust. And given the anti-Semitism in the world, this is hardly an unrealistic demand. That's why it was given to us by Lord Balfour. And that's why we've fought, I think, more bravely than anyone but the United States to keep it, to save the Jewish people. We certainly don't want, as neighbors, with our consent, people who are dedicated their lives from the time of their children to exterminating us. We want the opposite of that. We want people who have promised to live peacefully with us. Now, on the other side, there's not a single Palestinian so far. Well, there can be an exception we're going to hear about in a moment. That's willing to accept that. None of these people that Steve Witkoff is negotiating with will concede that Israel should be the permanent home of the Jewish people. So I guess for 1990, 2000, for 30 years, stupid here has wondered, what the hell are we doing? How do you end up even wasting time on a two-state solution when one state is going to be dedicated life and death to destroying the other? The other state would have to be suicidal. And the one thing the Jewish people are not is suicidal. The second issue here, more specifically, is because of that, whatever solution is taken in Gaza with a permanent peace, Israel wants to be part of the force that secures Gaza until it becomes a peaceful place. Why? To protect their people. Those are two reasonable requests. Hamas, on the other hand, says it's not going to allow any Israeli, it wants complete peace, it wants all sanctions gone, and it doesn't want to make peace until all of the Israelis leave. Now, and Hamas has got to be promised a part of the government. Now, how do you bring those two things together without a bullshit compromise? And after all of this, why would we want another bullshit compromise? Why? This is what we've had for 30 years. I could have told you 30 years ago what's happening now. Not just me, but lots of other people could have told you that who think with common sense. What I'm saying is not a pro-Israel analysis. It's not a pro-Arab analysis. It's not a pro-Republican or Democrat. It's called an intelligent analysis of reality. No country other than an insane or stupid one lives with a country next to them for too long that is dedicated to their extinction. No country freely agrees to that. And the Palestinians cannot be trusted to promise anything. They got to prove it. The last 30 years could have usefully been spent on Palestine proving to us that it could exist as a responsible, independent state, instead of our just assuming it and putting them on a moral equivalent with Israel. Instead, the politically correct was insane. But that's not unusual when Democrats are in charge or when oil interests take over. And when I listen to some of the negotiations, even now with my friends, I just wonder how clear it is. And I'm hoping that this is all a process to get to the nice, clear solution. That is usually not the case. But Trump is a masterful negotiator, and he can pull rabbits out of a hat. But it does seem to me that the two parties are still inextricably apart. I don't know how they overcome the recognition of the state of Israel as a Jewish state, critical to it. And then second, beyond that, a sense of assurance by Israel that it's real. And we're going to have to see. I think the next couple of days may tell us something about that. Now, the proposal that's come along, and I don't know how serious it is or how seriously it's being taken, is the one from Hebron, in which the Sheikh of Hebron and his fellow sheikhs, right, have proposed setting up a totally new entity, a smaller one, within the West Bank, called the Hebron Emirate, or the Emirates of Hebron, or whatever. It would be a designated piece of land, which is their family land, or their family's land, which is nothing like the size of the West Bank, but also quite substantial. as an independent state within the state of Israel. It would pledge itself to no terrorism. It would pledge itself to recognizing Israel as an independent Jewish state. It's exact, the political relationship with Israel would be negotiated. Would it be a free and independent state? Would it be part of Israel for a while and then free and independent? Would it remain some autonomous part of Israel? That's all up for negotiation. The critical part is it would be Palestinians living among Jews, with they're both recognizing the right to exist. And the other parts of the Palestinian Authority would be under some form of transitional occupation so that they could become like the Hebron Emirates, possibly 2 states or 3, maybe one up there on the West Bank under Jordan's control, or maybe the one over by Gaza under Egypt's control. It's an interesting concept. People involved in it would know, number one, how serious it is. Number two, can it work? But you have to build in a test period for the Palestinians. Despite the opinion of the world, it's corrupt and wrong. They are not ready to be a state. They have 2 major parties, Hamas, that are barbarian murderers, and Fatah, that were barbarian murderers. I investigated them. I can tell you about the 27 Americans they killed. And Clinton kissed Arafat's ass no matter, because he wanted the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, the PLO turned into the Fatah party, which went from being terrorists to being completely crooked. So there's no doubt that enough money has gone there that they'd be a rich country by now, except Arafat and his Fatah, fat and disgusting brothers, and the Hamas people have stolen all the money. Now, Hebron would offer a different situation. They're not part of either one of those 2 groups. Now, they would start fresh. And also would need a period of time to prove themselves, but with a head start. The rest of them should really have to prove themselves under an occupation. The way we did with Italy, and the way we did with Germany, and the way we did with Japan quite successfully after World War II. We just didn't make them independent all of a sudden. So that's what they got to get through. If they don't end up giving us just another Oslo Accords, Oslo Schmoslo, you remember people have died as a result of the Oslo Accords? Enough so that whoever got prizes for that should have to give them back even posthumously. Now, all in the middle of this, the Houthis, who the president made peace with, the other day bombed 2 ships in the Red Sea, which they promised not to do. And now there's a report they may have bombed a 3rd one. Now, we haven't done anything about it. This is like what Biden did. They bombed us 120 times, and we responded about 4 times, and I think we missed everything. They even killed some of our people, permanently injured a lot of them, Americans. Israel a few times bombed them. I don't know. I think we're looking at Israel's response there. I think. Well, Israel hit them back in 3 places, including their biggest port. And that's the port from which they send out, one of the 2 ports in which they sent out where they send out the drones and missiles that take out the international shipping. In less than 24 hours, Israel responded. I don't know why we didn't respond. This is like sticking it in the president's face. He went ahead and he made a peace with the Houthis. He excluded Israel from the peace. The Houthis still have the right to bomb Israel. I didn't like that too much. I think Israel has done enough for us that we should have included them in the peace. And by us, I mean cleaning out all of Iran's defenses. Our attack in Iran was flawless. They offered no air defense, but they haven't had an air defense for months. They don't offer an air defense against Israel. So Israel gets the credit for taking that air defense out and also for taking out Hezbollah. I mean, they've been bombing Hezbollah left and right up to today. Hezbollah doesn't do shit. It's sitting there weeing in his pants. Today they went way above the capital of Lebanon and bombed Hezbollah headquarters. I mean, they are going to take advantage of every second they have to create, if they can, permanent peace for the region. Somehow our objectives seem more complicated. We want a diplomatic peace. I'm struggling because I don't know that we've cleaned out enough of the animals to have a diplomatic peace that's going to be worth anything than what we've had in the past. I don't know what we're looking at right now, Ted.
Israel took out some Hamas.
Pardon me?
Israel took up some Hezbollah operatives in southern Lebanon.
Oh, that's the shot at Hezbollah.
Mm-hmm.
So Israel is able to walk and chew gum. I mean, they're talking peace and they're making sure that they don't let the animals get away with anything. Believe me, you see that what they're doing there? That has more to do with peace than all the meetings in this place and that place and some other place and some other place. Those meetings have been going on for 40 years and nothing's happened. What happened recently with Iran has them sitting down worried. The Houthis have to think twice about, are they going to continue this? And I really do think they deserve an American response. They broke their peace treaty with us. And we're supposed to be securing the Red Sea for international shipping. We sure as hell didn't do our job when they took out 2 international ships. And our ally, Israel, kind of went ahead and limited the Houthis' ability to do it. I think they've hit them twice now, since then. Now, there's another reason for it. As we talk, I mean, as we've been talking about, the Houthis have been bombing Israel continuously. Now, every once in a while, one gets through, but the Israelis have had great success in stopping them because they come from a long way. Remember, they're all the way down below Saudi Arabia. And it's hard for them to use drones that far. Their missiles are not the most sophisticated in the history of the world. And it's quite a different matter than like than a missile coming from Lebanon, let's say, or Gaza. So I would feel really comfortable if we just eliminated completely the Houthis. I mean, they are another brutal Iranian-backed, and even more Iranian-backed than Hamas, terrorist group. And we do one hell of a favor for, we want to gain a little favor with Saudi Arabia and see if we get a couple of points for them being part of the Abraham Accords. They've been at war with the Saudis for 30 or 40 years. So this should be more than an excuse to end their existence. When the Israelis hit back, they didn't play around. They hit the Hodeida port. The Hodeida port is the port where they do most of their dirty work, and they control that whole seacoast area of Yemen. And it's from there that they send out their missiles and drones and whatever the heck else they have. And they have an army too. I mean, occasionally it engages Saudi Arabia, but they're too far as an army. to be a threat to Israel, they'd have to go across, they'd have to do maritime landings, or they'd have to get across Saudi Arabia, and that ain't happening. It is not happening. So, I mean, a lot of do-gooders and those people who, have ice cream cones in their ears think this is a great time for diplomacy. I think it's a great time for finishing them off. This is like diplomacy. When you got the guy on the ropes, you got to throw one more punch, and you say, hey, let's talk a little. This way he can wake up maybe and punch you in the jaw a couple of times. How about we hit him with one big right hand and end it, like Iran? A 2-month fighting pause in Gaza is critical for Trump and Netanyahu. This is some genius here. To have hope of making eventual progress toward a prize they both seek, the normalization of relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. To ease the decades of animosity between the U.S. and Iran. You tell me how you're going to ease. First of all, the animosity is because every day they chant death to America, and then they practice it every other day. Well, we don't particularly hate Iran. I don't hate Iran. I find it just as easy to make peace with Iran as we did to make peace with Japan, or to make peace with Germany or Italy. Or Vietnam, who we just concluded a trade agreement with, and it's looking real strong, like they'd like an ally against you-know-who. This is not a two-sided problem. We haven't caused any trouble for Iran. They took us as hostages. We didn't take them as hostages. They killed our Marines and never paid for it. They killed thousands of our troops, and we killed one of their guys. They're not the top guy. And we've been giving them a break forever. I don't know what it is, what we're so afraid of with this effing Ayatollah. And he wants to go to heaven, so send him there. Maybe he can come back and tell us how many of the virgins he got. Muhammad probably is unhappy with him. Muhammad killed a lot more people than he did. And he never accomplished eliminating the Jewish people like Muhammad would like to have done. Oh, I'm attacking the religion. Gosh almighty, I didn't write in the Quran that you should kill the Jewish people. He did. I didn't tell him to have relations with a 9-year-old girl. He did. I didn't tell him that he should wipe out a whole village and bury them in a mass grave like Hitler did. He did. If he did. If he existed. When are we going to grow up and deal with people like they're adults instead of bad children, where you can't face the truth? There's a reason why on Ramadan people are worried about getting killed, but not on Easter or the high holy days. It has to do with the nature of the religion. The first two earlier ones are not homicidal in nature. The other one is. So when you want to make peace with it, you better be very damn careful. Very careful. The Jewish population in the world has still not recovered from the Holocaust. Before Hitler attempted to eliminate the Jewish people, 1939, there were 16.6 million Jews in the world. You know what there are now? 14.8 million. And 85% of them are in Israel and the United States. And the growth has been tiny in the world population, about 2%. The growth in Israel is more like 12. So Israel is vital. Israel is one of those countries that's adding population, unlike China, unlike Russia, and pretty soon, unlike America. We're dealing with things like in Harlem, more black children are aborted than born, which kind of accomplishes Planned Parenthood's final solution of eugenics, right? That's what the creeps who started it wanted. There are 6.8 million Jews in the Middle East, and there are 6.1 million Jews in North America. So we're kind of tied in together. And by the way, they're an integral part of our civilization. We wouldn't have Western civilization if it wasn't for the Jewish people. Do you understand, Ted, what the hell is going on with the guy we respect enormously, have always respected enormously? I think you even work for him, Tucker Carlson. I have enormous respect for Tucker. I do not know what the hell he's doing. Doing a pity-patty interview with Masoud Pezeshkian, whatever the hell his name is, who is the president of the Reign of Terror, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and a stooge of the Ayatollah and a murderer. And in the middle of the interview, the guy makes an extraordinary statement, and Tucker is sitting there with his finger in his mouth. He says, "Have you ever heard of an Iranian killing an American?" My God, I expected then a torrent. Well, how about we start with the Marines that you wiped out? I guess we're not going to consider the hostages for 440 days, you shit. But how about the Marines who never had a life because of your animals who killed them? How about all the people you killed in Iraq with the guy that Trump had a bomb? How about the plans to kill President Trump? How about the plans to kill me twice? What the hell is wrong with you, Tucker? Are you kidding me? Jesus, you'd fail my prosecutor entry course on that one. You let the guy pull that one on you? Have you ever heard of an Iranian killing an American? What? Do we have a
Iranian killing an American? Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that an Iranian killing an American? Have you ever heard that? Or a terrorist that was Iranian and he carried out a terrorist attack against the Americans? No, it was your president who confessed that the Americans created the ISIS in our region, and they were responsible for this wrong image that is portrayed of religion or the Muslims in the world. And once again, I would like to tell you and remind you, to the American people or to the officials, death to crimes and atrocities, to bullying, to the use of force, and anybody who would like to become an accomplice in the crimes perpetrated by others.
He was trying to explain death to America as it doesn't mean death to America, it means death to bullying. Oh, go shove it up your... What, are you kidding me? What do you think I am, a stupid idiot? I know you brainwashed the left press. You got people eating out of your hands, and you have Biden and Obama giving you money. But what do you think, I'm as stupid as they are? Or that I hate my country the way they do? What do you mean death to America doesn't mean death to America? Get the hell off my show. And lucky you're not here because I punched the shit out of you. That'd be the response of a man. What the hell was that, Tucker? You think I'm angry? Yeah, I'm angry for all those boys who died who never had a life because of the goddamn Iranian terrorists who killed them, and that guy was part of it. The Ayatollah doesn't select anyone but murderers. It's like the mafia, you jackass. That's disgraceful what you did. It's like putting a damn Nazi up there. They are cold-blooded terrorist murderers. Other than China, they've killed more of their own people than any damn regime on earth. And you're giving them positive publicity like the little jerks that they roll over and have been. I don't know what the heck they've done or what pill they give out, but how the hell they existed this long, pushing around America and causing so many families so much sorrow in this country. Embarrassing America, humiliating America, and killing Americans. And we want to negotiate with them. Even now. It's like we get on our hands and knees and beg them to negotiate. After the president said, we're going to have peace, and we want to negotiate, well, they had a big demonstration in Tehran. And when you are allowed to have a demonstration in the square in Tehran, you're getting a message directly from the Ayatollah. I mean, Tucker, I don't know if you know this, but they're not a free country. Did you know that? Did you know they're what's called a dictatorship? Do you know what a dictatorship is? So they felt so good about the fact that we want to negotiate with them. And we decided we wouldn't annihilate them, which we could have. They yelled out death to Israel. They yelled out death to the MEK. But they were so grateful to us, they yelled out death to America. You think they want to kill us? You think the Ayatollah has gotten across to the people who support the reign of terror that we're the big Satan? Well, of course he has. I don't believe. Maybe he didn't. Maybe before I get angry, we should find out. Did Tucker hear him? No, I'm serious. You know, he had an expression on his face, like he didn't understand what he was hearing. Can you go back and play that again? I mean, he had a strange expression. He didn't have a knowing expression on his face.
Iranian killing an American. Have you ever heard that? Or a terrorist that was Iranian and he carried out a terrorist attack against the Americans? No, it was your president who confessed that the Americans created the ISIS in our region, and they were responsible for this wrong image that is portrayed of religion or the Muslims in the world. And once again, I would like to tell you and remind you that this is not death to the American people or to the officials. Death to crimes and atrocities, to bullying, to the use of force, and anybody who would like to become an accomplice in the crimes perpetrated by others. This is. Have you ever heard that an Iranian?
It confounds me. Do we have the rest of that interview? We've got to listen to that tonight. I mean, what responses did Tucker give to that? Did he just let that go unresponded to the American people? I can't believe that. I mean, I can't believe that Tucker Carlson would do that. I mean, don't you see a strange expression on his face? like almost as if they were filmed at two different times. There's something weird about that. So I'm going to take back some of my passion and save it for tomorrow night, because I'm going to find a way to watch that whole thing. I want to take a look at, now, it would be pretty outrageous if you just let him said that. I mean, he eventually did have to put it on. And whether he heard it at the time or he heard it later, it went on unresponded to. That was the end result. That's what happens with Pravda. That's what happens with state-owned television. They put on crap like that, and you're not allowed to respond to it. Now, we gave him a pass with his interview with Putin, which didn't challenge Putin on anything. Like, how about all the civilian targets in Ukraine? A lot of complaints about the Israelis and the civilian targets in Gaza, not anywhere near as many as in Ukraine. What about that? Why is he killing Ukrainian civilians when the United States says Ukraine is ready to make peace? Putin wasn't challenged on that. Well, they're both hitting each other back and forth. The good news for Ukraine is they just got a whole group of new drones, which they use extremely effectively against Moscow. And the president, who I said looks like he's had it, has said that he's had enough. He's going to supply arms. He's going to supply arms to Ukraine. Again, there was talk that we were going to stop for a while because we felt that we were down a little. I think it was rockets that we were talking about. I don't know exactly what we're going to supply them with. The president described it as mostly defensive weapons. Well, that would include air defense missiles. In fact, that's what it would be. Now, there was a strange murder or death, one never knows, in Russia, in Moscow. It was the Russian transport minister, Roman Starovit. And Roman used to be, interestingly, the governor of the Kursk region. Now, you know the Kursk region, you're going to know it in a minute. You'll remember that's the region that Zelensky captured from Russia about 1.5 years ago in a very bold and surprise move. I think he shocked everyone. The Biden administration, the murderer Putin, and he took it. And Russia made 3 efforts to take it back and couldn't, including with the help of 5,000 or 10,000 North Koreans who may have ended up being more of a hindrance than a help. And then eventually did take most of it back. And now, I think it best be described as Russia has it, but Ukraine is still hanging on to some of it and some other territory in Russia. Now, there was a whole investigation, which in Russia, when you say investigation, you mean like Star Chamber. They probably pull people's nails out and torture them and whatever. The theory was that the Ukrainians had bribed the local government, and Starovit would have been at that time the governor of that region, that the counter-invasion was supported by Russian treason, by the people of Kursk. Now, they could be like a lot of Russians, not very happy about Putin, because it is a dictatorship. He's president for life. Oh, by the way, Tucker, did you point out when you interviewed him that he's a dictator? And what the hell is a president for life if not a dictator? Would you like to bullshit somebody else? You should have said no. Would you like to come on somebody else's microphone and bullshit? You're a president for life. And why is it that so many people die of poisoning if they happen to screw you? Do you ever murder them any other way? Is that what you were taught in secret police killing school? They interview Trump like he's some kind of monster, and they interview these people like they're the second coming of Muhammad. Well, he was the governor of the Kursk region. And the people in the Kursk region, he's never been mentioned as one of the people under investigation. And during the course of this, he was moved to Moscow to be the top guy in transportation. Now, this could have been a cover, right? The suspicion is that there was a tremendous amount of embezzlement in Kursk. So what? There's a tremendous amount of embezzlement all over Ukraine and Russia. But that the embezzlement had to do with Ukrainians that turned them, which would make it treason, right? I mean, from their point of view. Now this guy, what did he do? Did he die of poisoning? He was found dead inside his car, where in Odintsovo, which is a very wealthy section of Moscow. He was found with a gun, but they don't say whether which was a gift. The gun was a gift from the Kremlin. Maybe they wanted him to kill himself with a gun so it didn't look like a Russian poisoning. But I really want to find out. There's no reason for his firing. He was fired, or dismissal. He was dismissed. It doesn't say that he shot himself. It says he was found with a gun, but it doesn't say he shot himself. This could be their first murder since the Tsars. That wasn't a poisoning, and it would destroy my theory that if it's a poisoning, it's Putin. But this is Vladimir, good old Vladimir. So do we have the part where the president says that he's had it with Putin? He interrupted. He went off on that during the press conference today. Okay, yeah. We'll find that. I think it's worth looking. It's always worth looking. I'll give you a hint. It's worth looking at. It's true of everybody. We all have. You know these people they put on television. I mean, some of them are phonies and some are really good. Who read facial expressions. No matter how we try, there are things we do that are subconscious with our face. I spent a lot of time studying this as a trial lawyer because I wanted to read juries. And every once in a while I use jury experts who are really expert at this. And there are some expressions that are obvious. You know, we might be having him on now. Let's see.
No, finish your point.
Was that him today?
Yeah, but finish your point. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there are expressions that we're conscious of. You can see him sometimes, like the person who does the phony laugh, right? Oh, I got to laugh now. But then there are expressions we're not conscious of, or we have to think about it to be conscious of. You do it, I do it, we all do it. And a person really good at this can connect that to your emotions. Now, it's going to be harder with an actor, a really professional actor, because they've been trained to disconnect their expressions from their inner feelings and connect it to a more automatic feel. But not every actor is that good. So reading faces of a normal person can be a charlatan or a very, very, very wise, very, very skilled form of a psychiatrist, really, psychologist. So, for example, when I saw Trump's face the morning of the attack on Iran, and they were talking about the bombers taking off from American headed for Guam. I looked at his face. I said, They're going to happen faster than that. That's a dodge. You could just see on his face he was talking differently about Iran. I didn't look at this as carefully today because I was doing something else when he was talking, but I heard something in his voice that was a little different when he was talking about Putin. And it really was, he didn't have to say it just then. It was really more about Bibi. And so I'd like to hear it again if we can find it. Got it?
Maybe with you at all if you're going to fight. And they were maybe at a nuclear stage. They're both, nuclear powers. And I think something that was very important. We're trying to help out with a Biden-created monster, this whole thing that's happening with Russia and Ukraine. It's a horrible thing, and I'm not happy with President Putin at all. But this is something that would have never happened if I were president. This was a war that was never going to happen. Go ahead, Brian. With you at all if you're going to fight. And they were maybe thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Do you want to suspend him?
I don't know. We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Do you want to suspend him? Lindsey Graham has a sanctions bill on Russia. Do you want him to vote?
I'm looking at it. Yeah, no, I'm looking. The Senate is passing and passed a very, very tough sanctions. But yeah, I'm looking at it.
Can you sign that?
It's. I don't know. We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
I haven't heard him say that before. I haven't heard him say bullshit, and I I can't be 100% sure like I was before, but he definitely, it's very easy to see he's definitely a lot more annoyed than he ever has before. And look, he's the president. He's shown himself capable of taking the most drastic action necessary. I would really try to say in a non-threatening way to Putin, you've taken an awful lot of damage for this Ukraine thing. I don't know how many lives you've lost, a lot. It's cost you a fortune in a country whose economy is for shit. Your whole relationship with China is upside down, going upside down. China is backing you, but they probably regret it. China doesn't like to lose, and they don't like to back losers. China is on its way to wanting to be a winner, and the question of whether you drag them down or not has got to be on Xi's mind. I mean, this would be like him being bogged down in Taiwan. He gets to Taiwan, he gets off the beach, and then he gets nowhere. He gets 20% of Taiwan. You think they consider that a victory? 20% of Taiwan, and we control the other 80? You know how fast we'd kick them off if that were the case? It isn't exactly like, oh my goodness, I'm glad I'm allied with these guys. Now, want to try a difference? Our alliance with Israel. What did they do for us? They cleaned out every one of the protections for our biggest enemy, other than China, Iran. They did what we didn't do. They got rid of Assad, they got rid of Hamas, they got rid of Hezbollah, and now they're getting rid of the Houthis when the Houthis double-crossed us in the peace deal. And that's a pretty damn good ally. What Russia do for China? Cost them a lot of money in a war where they can't move. And it's a war in which they're constantly on the verge of, who knows what would happen if America really gave Ukraine the weapons that it needed. It's got to be a weakened army, Russia. It sure was embarrassing as hell when they brought the North Koreans in there. I think they're all dead. 10,000 show up, nobody goes back. They ended up killing more Russians than Ukrainians because they didn't know who to shoot at. Well, What do you make, Ted, of this Epstein thing? I don't want to talk about it because I agree with the president in a way. What the hell are we talking about Epstein for when we got the possibility of world war going on? And I do want to talk a minute about the situation, the complex situation between Russia and China, which I think people don't understand. And, that's what I really like to do. I like to unravel the things that are not being presented to people correctly. But we still have to get to the Epstein thing. The president was annoyed today when they brought it up in the middle of their discussing war and peace with Gaza, war and peace with Iran, war and peace with Ukraine, and they bring up this pervert, a guy who he threw out of Mar-a-Lago and the golf course. I wish he had said that. I threw that son of a bitch out years ago and stopped thinking about him. But what do you make of this? I mean, I thought Pam Bondi's, when I first heard that they said that they didn't have any lists, I couldn't remember exactly what Pam had said. But now her explanation does make a lot more sense than when somebody else gave it. So you might want to play that little interchange where the president first says, "What the heck are we talking about this for?" And he said, "If you want to respond."
Well, let's start back. Let's first play. This is Pam Bondi explaining that something's on her desk, and we'll let everyone make their own judgment call. So we'll play the original video from a few months ago.
That's fair.
And then we'll play today's clip.
That's fair.
Clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check.
Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for an American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the stabbing?
Yeah, sure. If could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively. The video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
Well, I thought her explanation was credible because the way John Roberts asked the question, it could easily have been interpreted as that entire big package of material that she had, which contained presumably contained the list. She never said she saw a list. She actually said she hadn't looked at it yet. And when she was asked, did you see anything shocking? She said no, indicating she hadn't looked at it yet. So I think that you can't say she directly contradicted herself. And her explanation seems credible to me, that at least at the time that she answered the question for John Roberts, she wasn't aware one way or another if there was a list. Now she tells us there was no list of his clients. So I go to the second question. What about the what about the list of passengers on his plane? Because I'd be interested in seeing that, because there's a big dispute with Clinton. There is information. How good is it? Well, we want to find out.
So she's
27 times he took that plane to Pervert Island, and Clinton either says he only did it a few times or not at all. So there's got to be some kind of a manifest, including situations with the Secret Service. I think I had also read that the Secret Service may have signed off on a few and let him go by himself. Well, that should be provable one way or the other.
right. So she's explaining herself, saying that when she said that all these files were on her desk, it wasn't just Epstein, it was also MLK, JFK. And so,
well, the way they attacked her originally, they said she told John Roberts that the list were on her desk, because John Roberts asked the question that way. When she answered it, she didn't answer it that way.
she didn't say specifically referring
She didn't say,
to a list.
yeah, I have the list. And she said, I have all the material.
Yeah.
So they missed each other. It was no direct question about the list and her saying she had a list. You could have interpreted her answer as that.
So how do you explain, and these are people we've met, you know better than I do, but how do you explain specifically FBI Director Kash Patel and Assistant FBI Director Dan Bongino, who they once were, they did what you're doing now, right? With very successful live or podcasts, and they regularly raised questions about Jeffrey Epstein, the client list, and the fact that they felt the government was likely covering something up here. Now they're in the position to uncover anything. They come out now. We're in July. I believe this came out in June. They concluded the investigation, right? And they've concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide and that there is no client list. Are folks right to question how these individuals could be so certain of this 5 months in, after not just questioning this whole situation when they were in private life, but kind of considered leaders, right, in questioning what was really happening, the government, the FBI's involvement with the list. So now here we are in 5-6 months into the new administration, and they're standing by this conclusion by their department, by the FBI. Some are questioning, should they be asking more questions? So that's what I'm thinking, Mayor. I didn't watch either of their programs on a regular basis, but if I were to, I feel like I would have questions. The feeling would be, even if I still stuck by them, are they maybe secretly digging for more information, but not publicly doing it? What's going on there? And I guess my question to you, Mayor, are these legitimate concerns and questions to have? It's like
they are legitimate. They are legitimate questions, and they are in a difficult position because they were so sure of their observations and conclusions. But I would say so was I. But I don't really know. And they didn't really know from the outside. They were basing it on very powerful circumstantial evidence. Now here's what I believe, because I trust both of them. Now, if it was somebody else, I might have. It's certainly fair to say the following. If this were two Biden people and they had changed their mind that way, would you trust them? The answer is no, I wouldn't. But if it's two people that I know, both of whom I consider friends, not the closest friends, I mean, if they did something wrong, I'd be certainly able to call them out for it. But I happen to believe that both of them are very honest men. I mean, exceptionally honest. And so I sort of empathize with them. Maybe they were wrong. And they were, I mean, on the question of the suicide, I don't know any of the evidence, so I'm certainly not a source. Please don't count on me as an expert witness. I couldn't be. But you want my uneducated judgment about it, just as an observer, a reader of the newspapers? It seems very unlikely to me that he committed suicide. It seems very unlikely to me that all of those cameras were out for so long and nobody noticed it. I know that prison, that just doesn't happen.
And by the way, I don't like that explanation, Mayor. There's a minute missing, but that minute missing was regularly missing. If anything, that raises more questions.
I don't honestly know what that means, except in the way the camera was set, you always missed a minute. Now, it would depend a lot on when that minute was, right? We know from the doctored video that I got.
We've dealt with this video.
The doctored video that I got from that creep Raffensperger and the prosecutor in New York, the Bar Association, who's another creep. That there's minutes missing from what they gave me, and they're critical minutes.
Right.
They're the minutes in which the alleged wrongdoing took place.
Right.
But is this the first minute of the tape every day or the last minute of the tape?
At a certain time overnight where the camera is reset daily.
Well, honestly,
that's BS.
It depends on what we don't know yet.
Well,
she claims she's going to put out the other tapes that show it's all at the same time.
The same minute, yeah. The same minute every day.
I have to know better what's the time frame of the possible death or murder.
Yeah.
And where is this minute in relation to it? It seems to me that a minute missing in something as intricate as a suicide or a murder is not going to be critical.
But the idea that, because it's always missing, one, that's a major security flaw, I believe, for the prison. And two, it's something you would set up ahead of time.
Well, not
to
10
allow
years,
for one.
Not if it's been missing for 10 years. You're not going to set it up 10 years ago.
No, but it allows for
I wouldn't get too tied up in the minute missing. I don't think a minute missing, it would matter that much.
Right.
Either way, if it were a suicide or a murder, a minute missing isn't going to make the difference. It takes more than a minute to do either.
But depending on the angle of the camera.
The biggest problem for me is, how the hell are the cameras out that long and the guy sitting in the control booth doesn't know it?
Right.
And how did everybody get sick that night?
And doesn't it
depend? How did he do it? I have gone through this as best I can, and I think I remember the cell. I haven't been back there in a long time, but it always seemed to me that area, it'd be quite a trick to hang yourself. It's low. So I had real problems with the suicide thing for sure. The list, I mean, it's conceivable he didn't keep a list. But what about the logs for the plane? What happened to them? They would go to that island all the time. They've got to be manifest.
There's got to be. And you'd think.
Did the FBI get the manifest?
This is the cell video.
Are you looking at the entrance to the prison?
Yeah, this is the cell. Well, this is the camera outside.
Is that the MCC? It doesn't look like it, by the way.
This is it, yeah. So
the coloring looks different than I remember it, but that's okay. And it seems a little weird. What's that guy? What's that person in yellow down there? That's not the usual entrance to the prison, by the way.
I'm trying to see if
It
there's,
looks to me like that's an elevation, and
you can see the
you're
minute
looking
missing.
down at the first floor, right?
Right.
That guy in yellow looks like he's below where we're positioned.
Trying to see the minute missing.
8/9/2019, 7:47:55. I'm just not sure I know what we're looking at. So it's not useful to look at
I'm
it.
trying to find the, yeah, well, I was going to try.
Where'd you get that from?
It's online, but there's a missing minute. And it's similar. It just reminds me of what we had to deal with. But let's see if I can fast forward. It says 11:58 is missing. See if we can quickly get to that. So it's 9:30, 10:30, 11:30.
Well, Ted, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think you're wasting your time on the wrong question.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be particularly useful to find out why the minute is missing. In a situation in which it's going to take more than a minute to hang yourself,
Boom, right here.
or more than a minute for somebody to kill you, unless he was poisoned.
Watch that clock.
Now, I will tell you that one of the weaknesses in the case for murder is the second coroner. Baden is called all the time as a coroner, and he always seems to come out where he's supposed to.
Right.
And he had a little problem as a New York coroner also. So I don't know how. I wish they had gotten somebody more independent when he definitively says that it wasn't a hanging. Now, I wish we had Dr. Maria with us, because when she looked at it at the original coroner's report, she said this wasn't a hanging. There's something about the break is not here, it's up here or something. So we'll see if we can get her tomorrow night to answer this for us. But I do disagree with the president about why people would be interested in this. And the reason is the deep state. If the speculation is correct, and this goes a lot deeper than it appears, then it goes deeper because of the very people who are ruining this country, who some of whom are part of this or not. It's very similar to the following. I was told in 2019? Yeah, December 2019. I was told in Ukraine by a very highly respected Ukrainian detective who has since been thrown out by Zelensky. And whatever you feel about Zelensky, Putin, and everything else, Zelensky's a hell of a crook and a dishonest man, and is covering up a massive amount of corruption involving Ukraine and the highest levels of the United States government and his own. I was told that the reason that the Ukrainian government and the American government fight so hard, and the reason why the Senate wouldn't take this up, is because if this ever opens up, meaning the Biden, if we ever get the real files in Ukraine, it's going to be very broad group of defendants in Washington. He said the reason they're doing everything they can to kill you, Giuliani, is because if it opens up, a lot of them are going to go down. And you've come the closest to getting it. He said, I'm surprised they haven't killed you. Here we would have killed you. This was an honest guy. Now, here, they got sitting there a cold bribery case against the prior president who walked out with probably $100 million in bribes. And Zelensky's covering that up. That's the president before him. Biden's friend, there are about 2 hours of tape that the White House won't release between Biden and Poroshenko when Biden was the vice president. That would contain all of the conversation about the replacing of the prosecutor who was going to investigate and prosecute Biden's son and Biden's bribery partner. That tape has never been produced, except 2 leaked snippets. One in which Biden approves the prosecutor, the new prosecutor. That's pretty unusual that you get to not only fire the prosecutor, but approve the new one. And then another one where it sounds like there's some missing business that has to be concluded. In other words, more money that has to be worked out. And it is certain that Biden spent the last 3 of his 4 days as vice president in Ukraine, not closing up his office in Washington. Because maybe that's where the gold was, huh? The real jewels. Well, President has set down August 1st as a tariff deadline. The markets took a little bounce because of that, down. It looks to me like, although he's hit 14 countries, he's really aiming at the BRIC countries. So the BRIC countries are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Serbia. And Kazakhstan. Sorry, I forgot the K. So India, Kazakhstan, Serbia, they're just hanging on. The main ones are Iran, Brazil, China, and Russia. Those are the main ones. So they are alleged, some of them, to want to change the world currency and drop out the dollar, which Trump has vowed will never happen. And also, the countries that he's hitting are all countries that have very, very high tariffs. So it's all of them, and they're being hit for various kinds of reasons. But right now, we are going to impose some very, very big tariffs on two of our top 10 trading partners, Japan and South Korea, and 2 of our most important allies. So that's a big deal. Looks like the only deals we've worked out are UK, Vietnam, and China. And China is a handshake that could change in August. I thought we had done the EU. I thought the EU was done, but I may be wrong. Apparently I am wrong. The ones on the table are Bangladesh, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Cambodia, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Serbia, South Africa, Thailand, and Tunisia. Japan, Korea, South Korea, Canada, Mexico, and China and the European Union are in a different category. They already have some reductions in tariffs, but not an agreement yet. So everybody, of course, now panicked again. And haven't they figured out that this is a part of a negotiating sequence? And before you go chop your head off, find out your country may turn out to do fabulously well, and you will have sold your stocks, sold your interests, and then not be able to get them back at the value at which you had them. You must have at least enough brains to figure that out by now. I would say, do not consider that to be true with China and with Brazil, where with De Silva as a real avowed enemy of the United States. And of course, China, where we've got national security concerns, it's a different situation. But with India, India's kind of strange. I mean, way back at the beginning, we thought Vance had come back from India with a deal. But apparently it hasn't gotten done. Now, the stocks slipped, but they're still pretty close to all-time highs. So I wouldn't panic. Please don't panic. It's not good to panic anyway. And don't read the Wall Street Journal because they want to cause trouble about this. See, I think this is ego. They have said that he's going to ruin the world economy with tariffs. Well, we're now, a half year into his presidency, and the American economy is doing great. So when is this going to happen? Could it be that the Wall Street Journal is wrong about economics? If they're wrong about economics, what good are they? So they have Trump reignites trade war threat, but sets delays. So he said they have until August 1st to negotiate. And then he put in the letter, as far as I'm concerned, we're done. Or this is what he said. We're sending out letters to various countries telling them how much tariffs they have to pay. So can't you see the game he's playing? He's giving them to August 1st, but he's telling them, I'm finished with you guys. Don't even bother. Wants to create a little agita. Also, if he does the trade wars, it'll keep him busy. He likes trade wars. He has to have something to negotiate to keep him out of trouble, right? And he always seems to come up with a great deal for us. When are they going to start to trust him? How many times can they be wrong and he be right? And they not say, geez, he knows this better than we do. He really knows international trade better than the Wall Street Journal. He really does. He's been into this for 30 years. When he was a young man, he could bore you with this. Oh, like you're yawning right now. You'd start yawning in the middle of a dinner when he started in with, oh, they're killing us with this tariff and that tariff. We should only have done this. We only should have done that. He really knows what he's talking about. He knows how to move around these things. The ones that really got to watch out are the little ones. I mean, it's like Serbia. Serbia wants to be friends with him. Don't give him trouble on a tariff. What are you, crazy? So the way it looks right now, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, and Kazakhstan are going to face a 25% tariff. Their tariff on us is much higher, by the way. Cambodia and Thailand, 36%. Laos and Myanmar, 40%. And Bangladesh and Serbia, 35%. South Africa, Bosnia and Herzegovina, 30%. So Vietnam has negotiated a much more favorable deal than that. It may be 10%. So it looks to me like Vietnam is going to be the economy in Southeast Asia to look to unless these guys jump on board. That's what he's doing. Don't you get it? Laos and Cambodia are sitting there saying, Vietnam will wipe us out. With America trying to avoid China, putting these tremendous tariffs on them. Do you realize the advantage Vietnam gets in buying American stuff and selling into that great, richest market in the world? China may be the biggest. America is by far the most desirable. We wouldn't have a trade deficit with China if it wasn't. The Biden dementia cover-up gets even more interesting now because in this new book by probably a bunch of reporters who knew about it and were part of the cover-up, it's really great. All the rats are writing books now. You can't tell me, you know Josh Dorsey of the Post, right? They didn't know that they didn't know for 4 years that Biden was a mental midget. Well, if they didn't, then they can't write a book. They'd be too stupid. But they say there's a 6-page document dated April 15, 2024, 73 days before Biden fell apart on national television, in which a group of his aides recommended that he had to have a debate with Trump. Otherwise, his candidacy was doomed, an early debate with Trump. And it was just around the time that Trump started taunting him with, "I'll debate that guy anytime, anywhere." So I don't know if they're suggesting there's a connection, but what they are saying is that a lot of people in the White House knew that he wasn't capable of being president of the United States and just didn't give a damn about the United States. But that would include them as Washington reporters. They knew it. And their interest was getting a scoop or something like that. Then, of course, on July 3rd, our eloquent former vice president, Pamela, according to this book, said after a meeting with the governor, she met with the governors, and she told them to all fall in line behind the commander-in-chief because, quote, "this is about saving our effing democracy," according to the book. Governor Hochul then went out and said, all of us said we pledged our support to Biden, meaning the governors who had met. Now, the governors at that meeting say that Hochul, well, we all know this, is a big liar. They didn't pledge their support. In fact, several of them, including Governor Janet Mills of Maine, told Biden directly that people in her state didn't think he was fit to serve another term. The governor of New Mexico warned Biden that he might be the first Democratic presidential candidate in 20 years to lose her state because they didn't think he was mentally fit. Governor Josh Green of Hawaii, a former ER doctor, similarly thought that Biden was non-compos mentis. Now, how do they all leave him next to the red button? Because they don't care about you. They didn't have the guts. They're like the Nazi prison guards. We know that the president shouldn't be near any buttons. He could press any one. Who knows? He could blow up the White House. He could even put drugs in a cell and not even know it. Or his son could be smoking all kinds of junk around him like cocaine and he wouldn't know it. We have to do a little summary of the absolutely fictitious science fiction candidate for mayor of New York, Mondani. Here are the things you should know about him. First of all, if Netanyahu were to come to New York, like for the UN or something, and he were the mayor, he would arrest Netanyahu. So Bibi answered that today by saying he would deal with that by always coming with Trump. Well, I would imagine Mondani would arrest Trump too, right? But then if he touched Trump, couldn't we put him in jail? So, I mean, the Democratic Party.
He would arrest you if you came to New York City, if he was mayor. Is that something you take seriously, or are you concerned about that? Do you have a response to that?
No, I'm not concerned about that.
I'll get him out.
Look, there's enough craziness in the world, but I guess it never ends. I mean, you have, this is a folly.
The part that he said was, well, I guess I'll go to New York with President Trump. Remember, they convicted President Trump in New York, Bibi. You haven't been convicted yet.
Yeah, you're behind.
I don't know. You got a convicted.
You might want somebody else to go with you.
But you know, he's not really you're not really like a convicted criminal until your sentence is imposed on you, because that's actually the judgment. The judgment is the sentence. So technically, all those rights that you lose, he hasn't lost yet until they sentence him. And I'm wondering what's going on with his case because the judge sentenced him, and I don't know what they've done with the appeal, and his lawyers are in the Justice Department. I got to find out. I always thought they'd appeal the case, during this period, because I think it has a very, very good chance of being reversed. It's a completely fictitious application of the law. And they've never decided his civil case. That's probably sitting there over a year. Remember, they had an argument in the appellate division, I think. And they seem very, very questioning about the case. And then the court has disappeared. That's the case with Engamoran and valuing Mar-a-Lago at $14 or something, with the little Democratic hack girl sitting on his lap and telling him what to do.
Remember that? Wow.
The communist agent, like they do, like the Communist Party does. The Democratic Party has an agent sitting with you to make sure you fix the case the way they want you to fix it.
Right. That was.
And then the other guy who sentenced him, to no time or something, or whatever the hell he did, his daughter made a fortune with the Biden-Harris campaign, and nobody cares about the massive corruption in New York, despite the fact that it's staring you right in the face.
Was it that bad in the? Was it that bad in the?
New York spends more money than the entire state of Florida. New York has 8 million people. Florida has 22 million. What does that tell you? New York steals. That's what it tells you. It's not for government. It's for the crooked, almost 2 centuries old crooked Democrat Party. Mandami also has given the finger to Christopher Columbus. I want all my fellow Italians to know that. Italian Americans, or as my grandfather would have preferred, American Italians. Despite the fact that we're Americans 100%, we still love the land of our grandfathers and great-grandfathers. And we still love Christopher Columbus. And we don't like you, Mandami. And we don't like guys who give the finger to somebody who actually accomplished something when it's somebody who hasn't accomplished anything. Not a damn thing. You haven't done a damn thing in your life, jerk off. You were a failure as a rapper. My God, if you're a failure as a rapper, you've been in the state legislature and you've done shit. And you won an election running on things that should put you in the nut house. Somebody said, well, at least he's smart. There's no indication you're smart. The things you propose are stupid. You lied about being black so you could try to get into Columbia because you had shitty grades, jerk. You were way down. Your SAT scores were in the crapper. So you had to pretend you're black in order to get a boost, and the boost didn't help you. And your father's a professor there. You must be a real jackass. You sound like a jackass. And it's only jackasses in New York, Democratic jackasses in New York, that would fall for your shit. You're going to have government supermarkets? Are you kidding me? You know, stupid people in communist countries are laughing at you. You're going to have price controls. Anytime you have price controls, you completely destroy an industry. Boom, gone. Rent control, forget real estate. But everybody will live in government housing. Oh, how do those government projects work out? Chicago is convinced that it caused all the crime in Chicago. Of course, they're wrong. It's the Democrat Party that caused all the crime in Chicago. And just watches it go on. Oh, for 65 years. But you're going to solve crime by doing away with cops. You know, you could really reduce crime big time, even more than I did, jerk off. Just don't pay attention to it. Have your social workers, when something happens, have your social workers go there and express equal sympathy for the victim and the criminal. Like the judge who said to the rapist, "Oh, I'm not going to put you in jail for too long because I don't want to ruin two lives." You know, Dostoevsky is the one who pointed out that communists love criminals. Why? Because it creates chaos in society. And chaos has you dislodge yourself from your civilization, your culture, your religion, your family. And that's what they want, because they want you to dislodge yourself from them and attach yourself to them. And they don't want contradictions to them, because it's easy to contradict them. If you have anybody around you that has common sense and cares about you, they're going to point out to you the idiocy, the human contradiction of socialism and communism, which happens all the time. Someone who remains a communist or a socialist is a human being who ultimately cannot reason properly. They are inferior to you intellectually because they can't come to a practical, reasoned position about the idea of working and obtaining the fruits of it, and the ability that human beings have to have invested in what they're doing, where they have some ownership of it in order to do it well. So now that China wants to try to be more productive, Xi Jinping is having a terrible time making them more productive, because you can't order it. Only to a point. You can only beat somebody so much to the point of being productive. To get to the point of, let's call it super productive, got to come from the inside. There's got to be something there the human being sees for themselves. Oh, there's my new car. There's my new house. There's my new life. There's my new invention that'll make me feel like I'm a really wonderful person. As opposed to work your 5 hours, or 10 hours, don't ask what you're working for, and let me take all your money and I'll give you back what I want. Where does that go? The same place in 26 places. It goes to revolution and death, which is where Mondami is taking us. Are you gonna really, this guy really gonna get a vote? Well, I don't know what else he can do to show you that he doesn't belong as a candidate for anything in America. He also, we kind of missed this yesterday, but he has somebody working for him named Zara Rahim. Sarah Rahim worked for Obama and Clinton, two people trained by communists. Zara Rahim publicly wished death on President Trump after his 2020 COVID diagnosis. She's now consulting for Zohran Mamdani's campaign. On October of 2020, she wrote that with regard to the then presidential candidate Trump, hope he dies. It's been against my moral identity to tweet this for the past 4 years, but I hope he dies, she wrote. She helped him craft campaign videos, and just this Sunday accompanied him backstage at Meet the Press. No one has questioned him about having a staffer who hoped that Donald Trump died of COVID. Shall we tweet something out about this, Ted? Here. I mean, this doesn't even get any attention. That's pretty severe. They want to know if he's a communist. He's got possible murderers around him. At a time in which a president's been, his life has been almost taken twice. The first time we know because of the bullet. The other one, if that Secret Service agent didn't see the guy in the bush, the guy had a perfect shot at Trump coming up. And where the hell are those investigations gone? We hear a lot about those, don't we? Once again, just coincidental. Just coincidental. I'm not going to say anything except one thing. If I had that investigation, number one on the list is the person with the biggest motive. Number two, the second biggest motive. Number three, the third biggest motive. Number four, the fourth biggest motive. And I go through each one of them in great detail. Now you figure out that list. And you ask me, are they doing it?
Are they doing it?
Doesn't seem that way. Well, the Wall Street Journal published an article by Santiago Vidal Calvo from the Manhattan Institute, who, it sounds to me, comes from a country that was communist or socialist, where he points out from experience, not from giving the finger to people or being a miserably dumb student who didn't have SAT scores worth getting into any college, so he had to lie. Everywhere that socialism has been tried, it's led to decay at best and mass death at worst. The global death toll from socialism and communism is over 100 million. Whether we're talking about Stalin's gulags or Mao's Great Leap, famine, or Pol Pot's killing, or Xi Jinping's genocide. When the state owns everything, the individual owns nothing, not even his life. And this guy is picking some of the greatest failures: nationalizing business, price controls, and government-run retail. These are some of the highlights of socialist failure that even socialist countries and communist countries have rejected. But moron who can't get reasonable SAT scores or get into a school when his father's the professor and has to lie about being black. Now, they're saying he could say he was an African because he came from Africa, even though he's Asian. Okay, that's where you came from. But coming from Africa doesn't make you black. That's just a downright, how about we call it just a lie? On purpose to get something for nothing, an admission to the school in which your father's teaching. And they wouldn't take you because they know you're a jackass. And you want to be mayor of New York City. I mean, every single thing he suggested has turned out to be a disaster. And the people in New York who listen to him say, who the hell educated them?
Yeah, he got hundreds of thousands of votes. Crazy.
What do you think all these people in Venezuela are doing in the U.S.? He wants to take the city's minimum wage to $30 an hour. That'd be an 82% jump. There'd be no jobs left. Every one of your McDonald's and you name it would leave. Bye-bye. There'd be a city without a drive-in anything because they couldn't afford to hire people at $30 an hour. You know, one thing he can't do that you could do in a communist country like China, you can't lock them in. He might try, But that ain't going to work so long as Trump is president. He wants a new Department of Community Safety instead of a police department. There's a shootout going on in the bar, and the social worker shows up and says, "Stop! Use your words!" Boom, boom. Pretty soon there'll be no social workers. Tell me about your mother and father. Boom, boom. You should not be doing this. Boom, boom. I don't know, it might be better than Chicago. It's effectively that way in Chicago every weekend. He wants to get ICE out of New York City. Well, how exactly is he going to do that? It's part of the United States. It's part of the law of the United States. Who do you think is tougher, him or Homan? What do you think, Ted? Who's your money on, Ramadami Dami or Homan?
It's in what? Who gets more votes?
No. I mean, in a showdown between the two. He wants to keep ICE out of New York.
Oh, Homan against Mamdani. Oh my goodness. I don't think you know how they separate, you know, the varsity and JV. I mean, my goodness. That would not, I can't name, that wouldn't be legal. That'd be like.
You think Homan would be afraid to arrest him? I don't think so.
Oh my goodness, he wouldn't think twice.
Yeah.
Tom Homan's, you know, one of the, you know, I don't know how many people.
The mayor of Denver said he was going to stand at the city gates to keep Homan out.
Didn't he end up backing down when he saw Tom Homan?
First of all, the mayor of Denver couldn't find the city gates because they don't have any. But in any event, he never stood anywhere. And Homan went in, took out a couple of thousand, and is going back. And he's sitting in his basement,
hiding.
The little boy mayor is going.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's being protected by Governor Feliz Navidad. Whatever happened to Governor Feliz Navidad? Colorado's falling apart.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad.
That's your example of a Democratic male. You girls excited?
He must regret that.
Imagine waking up in the morning with that. And he wakes you up with Feliz Navidad.
That video alone, that guy will never be president
because
because
the guy who had the boy mayor in Denver, and they gave up the police station. He has more per capita illegals in Denver than even in New York because of him. And when they come, he gives them money, he gives them checks, and he sings Feliz Navidad for them. Mm-hmm. And they look at him and say, "Oh, we can take advantage of this jackass." Well, Jerkoff was running around campaigning, talking in Arabic, right?
When you say jerk off, well, and you're talking about a different language, you certainly aren't referring to Biden or Harris.
No, I was talking about Ramadami Dami.
Oh, Mamdani.
He was running around
all these different languages, promising
like,
free stuff.
Like I'm watching a horror movie. And then he goes.
You notice that at the end, it's very weird. But he got some, I guess he got the youths.
Did he really? I mean, did they really look at that and say, that's what we want?
Well, 4%. Remember, about 4% of registered voters, so even less percent of New Yorkers voted for that's what they want. So maybe turnout's the problem. I can't imagine if everyone was forced to vote, they would vote for that.
Did you show him giving the finger to Columbus?
Oh, yeah. You got to show that in the Italian
looks like he has
neighborhoods.
gloves on. I wonder what the gloves are for.
COVID.
I mean, does he know we
COVID.
can't get his fingerprint from a picture?
We have some breaking news. This is in New Mexico.
Mexico?
New Mexico. Flash flooding. So let's go to, we got some video here. This is from New Mexico tonight. It's happening now in New Mexico, right next. Oh my God. That's not good. So this is happening now in New Mexico. So we'll follow.
This is happening right now?
Yeah, this is about an hour old.
Wow. That looks like a very similar situation, huh?
Right. This is not a good situation at all.
Is that the same? That's the same.
Yeah, this is happening right now in New Mexico. Wow.
No.
Oh my goodness!
Holy shit!
Is this? Let's get. We'll try to get some. That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So this is what we're hearing.
What the heck?
So we'll keep an eye on this.
Death toll 7, it says.
So we'll keep an eye on that.
118 people are confirmed dead, and at least 170 are missing as search and rescue operations in central Texas entered a 5th day, Tuesday. So it's going up a little, huh?
Right.
And now we have this one.
This is just happening tonight. So
Now, there was some discussion that there might be some rain again in Texas.
And they're getting more rain in Texas. That's right.
So is there any more that we can get before we have to sign off, which we should probably do now on New Mexico, except
rescues are currently taking place.
well, it's going to put a strain on FEMA, that's for sure. But they've been doing a really good job in Texas. New Mexico, I mean, that from what we saw, that looks terrible. Well, it looks like it was taking a city out, Ted.
I couldn't believe that. I almost didn't believe it. I want to confirm that the video was so unbelievable. And yet
what I wanted to tell you, and we'll say that we're getting off, is that you should know that China and Russia have serious border disputes, and their empire dreams, Putin's and Xi Jinping's, run into each other. Part of their completion of their empire requires some of the same territory that the Russians took from the Chinese. They took it from the Qing dynasty, Qing dynasty. And this went back to 1860. And it's in Manchuria and out of Mongolia. And Xinjiang, which is one of the places where the Chinese wiping out the Uyghurs. And some of it, Stalin was able to get back at the Yalta Conference. But China still disputes it. And according to intelligence sources, they've tried to settle this. And nobody seems to want to give in. There's a similar dispute between China and India of even more serious nature, in the sense that they don't pretend to be allies. But this dispute is a very, very serious dispute, and it's a very large area. Russia took it originally to try to dismantle the Chinese Empire. It's Eastern Manchuria and the port of Vladivostok, which is a very, very important port. In 1950, Mao Zedong demanded from Stalin Eastern Manchuria. And he gave him back a little teeny port and nothing else. And since then, it's been a dispute between the two of them, which at some point has got to get settled. China, meanwhile, is trying to flex its muscles. They had their second aircraft carrier. They have only 3. They had it dock in Hong Kong for about 3 or 4 days. The second time they did that to try to show it off to Taiwan. And Taiwan answered that very, very intelligently and very smartly, because I think we got another really good ally in Taiwan. And we have made available to them a whole new rocket system called the HIMARS system, the High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, made by Lockheed Martin. And they have several of these batteries now, but they're eventually going to have 29 of them. Seems to me this is exactly what you use if there's a amphibious landing that they didn't have during D-Day. They didn't have rockets like this at D-Day. But they just installed their first 5. I would imagine they're facing China. It has a range of 186 miles, which means it could hit mainland China. And it could, of course, protect Taiwan. And the narrowest part of the Taiwan Strait is 80 miles. So they're going to begin their exercises on July 9, which will be the day after tomorrow. And it's going to last twice as long as usual. And it focuses on simulating drills to prevent an invasion of China and to, I guess, do even better than Ukraine, not limit them to 20%, but defeat them on the beaches. They also have, of course, they have, I believe they have Jupiter missiles to protect themselves in the air. And I don't think there's any doubt that we would defend them. I hope there's no doubt that we would defend them. Our isolationists notwithstanding, who are starting to really annoy me. Also, as we close out, I should tell you that the attack on border agents is up like 300%, including a on Monday morning, as Carolyn Levitt was delivering a message asking people to please calm down their hatred and bitterness and calling agents Nazis. And on Monday morning in McAllen, Texas, someone identified as Ryan Lewis Mosquedo at the Rio Grande Valley of the Border Patrol just showed up and started shooting at the Border Patrol agents. He shot 2 Border Patrol agents, and they shot and killed him. So how about we calm down the rhetoric, huh? It's really ridiculous. The Democrat Party has turned into some creature of, certain portions of it appears that it's like possessed by the devil. Let's see if we can put men in women's locker rooms, and the things they espouse. Whoa. So let's pray for those people in New Mexico. We've got a lot to pray for, huh? And the people in Texas, of course. And the people we always pray for that are in harm's way in Ukraine and in Israel and in Iran, and our American soldiers in harm's way, and our president. You know, they still want to kill him, right? The people he's negotiating with, the Iranians. They tried to kill me twice. I don't forget. I'm Italian, remember? Don't forget. And we don't know that they tried to kill the president twice, but they sure are on the list of suspects, aren't they? If you got any brains, they are. We got a lot to worry about. We got a lot of hard work ahead of us. But God also gave us the greatest nation on earth to protect and develop and to try and use it as a model for the rest of the world. Not to force it on them, make it available to them. And I think this administration has the right attitude about that, except for those who are mindlessly isolationist, which would presume that, as Madison warned us, would presume that all men are angels. Well, they're not. And if they were, we'd have a much easier life. But then maybe we wouldn't earn our way to heaven, right? So we'll see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on, Ted?
Lindell TV.
All right. And 8 o'clock?
Right here on X.
And
Facebook.
And we'll get on top of that New Mexico thing. I'm very anxious to find out. When I saw that hitting the city, I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that before. What am I going to stop saying? I've never seen anything like that before. I guess when I die. And you too. Well, thank you for watching us. And thank you for paying attention to what's important. You got to do a little concentration this day to get above the brainwashing, but you guys are terrific. You stick with us and you work with us, and I think it's helping. God bless America. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost. cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense.